start with a presentation or video?
So you're going to be in our second stage, so you don't come up for this one. So right now we're looking for Mark, Maria, Simon, and Carol, our first 4 speakers. It is the bottom of the hour. Here's what we're going to be doing. Hi, my name is Eric Cohen. Most people know me as Eric E. Cohen. I say if you don't use the E, you don't get me. Today I'm going to be known as Eric N.M. Cohen. That stands for No Mercy. That's right, this is the rapid fire session. During our rapid fire session, we have a 1-minute setup. I see that my first speaker isn't here. We do want to make sure that everything's done. We're going to probably be starting with our second speaker. So Maria, I'm going to ask you to get ready to speak. Get ready to speak. You've coordinated, you're all ready to go? Oh, Daniel's going to go first? Yeah. Okay, Daniel's going to. So Daniel, get ready to speak. Here's what we do. We have 1 minute to set up. They work with our presenter, make sure they're ready to go. During that time, Derek and Eric, the mighty Derek and Eric show. Here's what we do. We do a little dancing. We do a little singing. We keep you entertained. A little bit of music. And then when it's time, we look at our clocks and we say, you have 8 minutes. Here's what they can do during that 8 minutes. They can dance. They can sing. They can tell you about themselves. They can do a little show. They can take questions. They can do anything they want in their 8 minutes to wow you, the audience. But we are going to give them a 5-minute warning. We're going to give them a 3-minute warning.
We have to say problems, solution, and how we're going to succeed. How do we have to pitch?
We want you to be entertained. We want you to have the energy here. We hope you keep going. At the end of our first 4 speakers, we're going to vote. Who was the most interesting?
And why the team will succeed, where you're going to have your team in, where you're going to succeed, what the opportunity. Don't forget what you want when you pitch. Don't forget the opportunity.
Derek is just sitting here, just working on his speech right now for any remaining time. Look at my watch. I'm going to say T-minus 15 seconds. Remember, we've got 8 minutes. Watch it on your clock. Help me count them down. 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 1 minute. Off the stage. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, start.
Hello, thank you very much, Eric. I would like to use my 7 minutes actually as sort of break from blockchain. So this will be a little bit change. I hope it doesn't mean a rapid fire in my knees, so we'll see. So as you probably already know, all of you, is that APIs are really well recognized, well used, widely adopted technologies, widely used for exchange of data, integration, and so on. The idea is that now when the APIs are becoming like more mature, they are after the puberty, they finished like the maturity exam, they are reaching to the new phase. The idea is, I think, is that it's about time to make them like more standardized, organize them in a way that they are easy to consume, and forget about them and make them actually a consistent part of our system and stop discussing like, okay, we use API here, API there. Make it like a part of the protocol that we use and don't worry about it too much anymore. So I would like to touch on 2 topics related with standardization and best practices related with the development of the APIs as something that I think can be very useful, and I hope it brings you some value to the discussion. So the APIs adoption is growing very fast. In the just 2 years, the API calls, instead of this being quite old technology, the API calls, number of calls globally grew from 3 billion to over 30 billion in just 2 years. So there's been tenfold growth. The blockchain probably has bigger growth, but in this scale of numbers, it's much bigger also. So, however, the biggest use cases are still like strange. So, is it the pointer? Yeah. So, the most common case of using the APIs is where the people go for the business logic. They have to invoke some kind of function. They want something to be done. So then this is the most case where people go, okay, I will have some API that will do for me some kind of a logic. Other case that is not as popular, but also is the data transformation. So I have to transform the data, maybe from one format to the another. Maybe I need to change something in the structure. So I do some API that will help me with this. Or I will probably, in the other cases, use some ETL tools, implement custom software, whatever.
5 minutes.
The last case is the data access. And this is actually the part that is related with the openness. And this is also what I would like to touch, is that So far, we are discussing a lot about the trust, but I think the APIs are in the heart of the openness of the data. And this is, I think, the part where these two topics I would like to touch are very helpful. So when you are integrating to exchange data over API, there are usually two problems. First is you need to learn about the model of the data. You need to know what are the objects there, what are the fields, what actually is the type of the data, what are the relationships between those objects that we are using. And the second is the infrastructure. So this is usually where it all goes. So there are two practices I would like to briefly talk about. First is called HATOAS. It's a horrible name. It's hypermedia as the engine of application state. Let's not mention this name again. However, it's basically a very useful tool for directing people on the API. And the second is OData. OData partially actually also incorporates HATOAS. However, I separate them because HATOAS actually can give you a little bit more in some areas, and OData is actually promising a little different part. So let's start with the OData. So how OData works is that you have an additional layer. This is like built on top of the API, where you have your regular API, when you can do all the web requests. You can get the data in form of I get the information about the products, I get the information about transactions, about the orders, about the quantities, and so on. And then, actually, the metadata is like a taxonomy for the API. So I no longer have to read the entire documentation to understand my API, to do some kind of models and so on. I can just automatically read the metadata and, like the XBRL taxonomy, just understand API automatically. And this software can immediately consume the data. It's as easy that there are even Excel components that can directly connect OData to the Excel. Other layer is querying. So it's like combination of taxonomy. You can think about combination of taxonomy and SQL. So now you can not only access the data in form of, I know how the data looks, but I know how to query it. I know how to filter it and so on. The next part is the HTOAS. It's a relation when you get the information about the object. It's a tool with which someone who provides you the data can guide you with the data to the further places. So now I give you information in this example, let's say. I'm giving the information about the account. And now, for you to learn, when you are getting this account, you can already learn. You don't need to know, okay, I need to know entire API. So this is the way where I get the account information. This is the place when I deposit the data. This is where I withdraw. This is when I transfer. No, I just need to get the information about the account. And account internally already has the other information to move further over the API. So this is like a GPS, you can call it. So this is the way for the API provider to guide the person who is consuming the API over the next places of the API. So what it all brings together. When you have everything together, you have very easy to read layer of the OData. This gives you possibility to directly connect to the data. I don't have the time to give you the demo of this. However, it's as easy as just connecting to the, ORM type of things that you use in the regular software development, connecting to the database. Regular layer of the API, and using these hypermedia, you can direct people to different places. Let's say, for example, to achieve better security, basing on someone authentication and his rights, I can move him to actually completely separate environment when he is physically disconnected from other places. So this gives potentially even higher security. But I can also scale using this. So I can, for example, have very particular part of the API that will be scalable just for this particular use case. So all of this, if you want to get some more information, you can find under these links. I believe the slides will be available later. I would like to just encourage you to follow these practices because I believe this is like the last step in the development of the API. And because when you'll be integrating all other technologies, blockchains, big data, AIs, somewhere in the chain, some kind of API will appear because you will need to integrate the data, systems, all of the other systems that you already have in place, and also other new things that we'll be introducing. So API will appear somewhere. And if you will follow these these simple practices, you can spend less time on the APIs, and you can spend more time on the actual system. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's hear it for our first speaker. Maria, get ready for your staging time. Okay, what do you think? Exciting stuff? Interesting stuff? You ready for another one?
Sorry
for
me leaving, but I have to go for a plane.
We understand. Our first two speakers are headed off to airplanes, so they will not know when we vote for them. Keep that in mind. No one will feel hurt when they're out of the room. Our second speaker, Maria, are you almost ready to go? Getting the mic in place. Okay, you got the microphone in place. Derek, you ready to hit the timer?
Yes, yes, I am ready. It was interesting, though, Carol. Yes.
You good to go?
Yeah.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're on for 7 minutes. Go.
Hi, I'm Maria Teresa. I'm a full stack developer. I'm working in Justy Global. And today I'm going to talk about digital identity and the problems that we have right now and how we can solve it with blockchain technology. So first, the meaning of identity is, for example, characteristics that define by a person, right? These definitions, I think that are the best definition to explain the meaning of identity. So for me, digital identity should be these definitions with in a digital world. So digital identity is so important in our life. We have a lot of digital identity. For example, in social media, everyone have a Facebook account. Or maybe in banks, when we're doing a transaction, we use our mobile phone, and the mobile phone has our digital identity. For example, at work, we send an email, and the email represents our digital identity in the work. So the problem is, who owns our identity? So the problem is that everyone except you. When you share the data doesn't belong to you. That's a problem. So I'm going to explain with 3 examples the problems of the digital identity. So when we are going to do an enrollment process, we complete a formulary with a lot of data. Maybe too much data for the process, too much data that the process will be need. So this is
5
something
minutes.
like this. Another example is, for example, when we go to a nightclub. The doorman, sometimes, for example, me, I'm young, the doorman always asks for my identity, in Spain, the DNI. And the DNI shows where do you live, your parents' name, and he only needs the information if you are not a minor person. So that's a problem in the physical world and in the digital world. Another problem is when you share your data, you don't know where the data is stored. You are going to share the data, and the data is stored somewhere, and maybe it's like a lock in the bridge. It's always there, and you cannot delete it or even modify it. So that's a problem too. And finally, I don't know if everyone see Game of Thrones. This is Bravo City, and this character has an infinity face. We have a lot of digital identities, and the data of the digital identities is not correlated. You have Facebook, you have, for example, your bank account. You have the same data, and the data is not correlated. So that's a problem. So finally, what is the holy grail of the digital identity? Be the owner of your own identity. Everybody has your data, and you don't have it. So that's a problem. So now I'm going to talk about a solution that we have developed in Justy Global that
3
will
minutes.
be an open source project. Sorry. And this application will allow the user decide what data shares and what not. And he will be the owner of its identity. For example, it will be also revoke the data for an entities. If I want an account in the bank, and I want to go to another bank. Maybe this bank will have this identity, and I don't want it. So with this application, I will revoke the data to this bank. Well, I'm going to talk this, but I think that I have not enough time. But the essence is that you have the identity, and you only share the attributes to the entities, to the other entities. So these entities maybe will be validate this data, or maybe will be asked for an enrollment process. So now I'm going to show a video. This is a lovely music.
1 minute.
No. So this is the demo. We are going to create an identity, and we are going to provide an identity number that is our identifier, and a caller that will be the person who can see the data of the identity. In this case, I will be James 1, and I'm going to write in the formulary or my data. It's not necessary to write all the data, because you only say that you want. So you must say if you are dead or alive, because
Thank you very much for your 7 minutes. And Maria also has to be leaving for the airport right now. Thank you very much, Marcel. Are you ready to be up? You'll be up in 30 seconds to 45 seconds for your session. In the next of our rapid fire sessions. Identity, huge deal. In the United States, they established a new governmental private thing called the ID ecosystem, so you could give out just the attributes you need while meeting everybody's needs. You get the right information, but you only give away the information you need. Very, very important. Mark,
this is the largest display you can make? That's okay.
Mark, are you ready to go? We got our timer going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mark, 7 minutes.
Good afternoon. I'm going to share some ideas from a project we did for the gentleman you saw yesterday via Skype, Peter van den Hul of DG FISMA. It's a working piece of software based on the blockchain. And Henning, who's now running away, was part of the development as well. Just show you the disclaimer, so the Commission is also happy with that. Now, what's the problem? The problem is that in 2008, we saw that many enterprises are actually in the financial services industry. They're flying blind without instrumentation. Now, there are ideas within the Commission, and they're working very hard on modernization. Peter spoke about his FDS, Financial Data Standardization Project. There are two sub-projects. The first one is semantics. How do you fix semantics? We've been talking about semantics quite a bit. The second is, well, you know, centralized. You could put it in a database. However, that's not always appreciated by the stakeholders. So what was the solution? First of all, this is a huge space. How do you eat an elephant? By slicing. So we limited ourselves we refer to it now, this is the FISMA blockchain demonstrator, but it's actually in full the FISMA over-the-counter derivatives trading reporting blockchain demonstrator. That's what it's doing, nothing beyond that scope. How did we address the sub-problems? Well, there is no agreed semantics. We found a great source of semantics called the Actus project. Check it out on the internet if you've never seen it. And if you don't like a centralized, we go for decentralized, so we just use Ethereum smart contracts. Actus, you find the detailed, let's say, semantic and algorithmic definitions of the majority of the let's say, the financial agreements, and derivatives is one of these
5 minutes,
which fall underneath it. To put us all on the same page regarding blockchain, I mean, I'm sure you know, on the left you see a blockchain with 2 blocks. There are candidates, there is a consensus, and we end up with 1 more block. So smart contracts, we wrote smart contracts that embed OTC derivatives. They have this state and logic. And we have then set up a demonstrator where you have a series of nodes connected, the yellow and the red dots. And using the Actus semantics, Alice and Bob, they trade with Eve, and there is Romeo who can then fire off compliance reports. So there are 3 stories in the demonstrator, of which I'm going to share 1 with you. Alice and Bob conclude a bond contract, and we create a digital doppelganger, and then there is the narrator which simulates the time. And Romeo generates a regulatory report, a COREP report. Now, all data is available on the chain according to agreed semantics. All the calculations can thus be performed in real time, and the report is available immediate, while it used to take weeks or longer than that. How does the user interface look like? Well, this is just a Meteor web server. You create a new contract. Initially, all these nodes disagree. There is no consensus. So this can be visualized in this way. Here we take some technical parameters. When the consensus protocol has run, they're all in sync. They all have consensus, and that can be, say, measured or expressed in this way. So then you will have the new contract between Alice and Bob on the chain. You can take any node. It will have the same copy of that contract. And then you can fire off the report that you want using the information which is on-chain available in the blockchain. That's essentially what we did in a nutshell. I think I have 1 last slide. There's a movie. The movie is, I think, like 10 or 15
3
minutes.
minutes.
What?
3 minutes.
Well, okay, I'm not going to start the movie now because the movie will take us too long. But the movie builds up, tells you the 3 stories, tells you what we try to do. And there is an article online there published explaining what this project has been doing. And with that, I think I rest my case. Thank you.
If you want, you can take questions. You can give Maria
Oh,
the rest
yeah.
of your 2 minutes, whatever you want.
Yeah, no.
Sing a song, tell a joke.
I'm
Yeah,
not
2
good
minutes
in
and 30
those. You
seconds.
want to sing? Questions? No questions.
Commercially running, or is it a prototype?
It's an in-house prototype for the commission.
Which platform are you running on the...
Private Ethereum, Solidity contracts. Okay. Yeah. What framework do you refer to?
When you use, I understand that's OTC, right?
This is?
You grab the data for OTC, right? For derivatives, right?
Yeah.
So the system that was doing that before you introduced this one on blockchain, was it completely decommissioned? Why do you what do you use?
Wait, what is in place stays in place. This is an experiment. It's a demonstrator. It lacks a lot of features to make it production ripe. If the commission finds consensus internally, politically, and funding, I don't see a reason why you could not build this and put this into production. But that was not the purpose of the project. This was a short-time proof of concept, you could say. Yeah, it's a sandbox solution. Yeah, but we are working on a new project which is going to be exposed for 1 year then with a selection of users.
You may use up to 1 more minute.
Oh, thank you. You're too kind. Did I answer your question? Okay, thank you. There are no questions. So.
But then the dancing starts.
Either I'm a brilliant speaker or you are all very, very, very smart listeners. I guess it's the latter.
Okay, he's going to start complimenting you. That's the way to do it. All right, excellent. And for the last of our part one, Simon, will you get staged? With Mark, it might be upstaged, but with Simon, Simon's going to get staged.
Do I have to put this here? Sorry.
He's connected.
Connected, yeah.
He's on the air.
Should I put it somewhere?
Yeah, in the pocket.
Slides are ready. And 3, 2, 1, your 7 minutes begin.
Hi, my name is Simon Olsen. I'm working in product innovation for a company called Leica Corp, which is trying to build the future of markets. You know, the world currently has the following problem. We are full of problems which urgently need solution. The environmental damage, poverty, there's a complete lack of investment. And at the same time, interest rates on 30 years are abysmally low. You have unemployment, you have a lack of credit, a lack of opportunities for the many. In the Middle East, you saw it first, then you saw it in Europe and in the US. This is a problem that requires a solution. It's a problem that the money is not going from there where it is, the person who gets no interest rate, to there where it's needed to solve problems. We are trying to build an exchange, a global exchange, without any fees, which is accessible to everyone, wherever he may come from, to the same terms, where everyone has the same market access. We're trying to build a fully regulated exchange for any kind of financial asset on the blockchain. We have built an architecture of a semi-decentralized exchange. I encourage you, didn't use a presentation on purpose. I encourage you to look on your phone. We have an app, you can download it, and you can use it immediately. We have 30,000 users. We have created several frameworks for securities, products which are considered a security. There's a forward on the run for underlying shares, together with in dialogue with the Swiss regulator. We are creating regulated units in Switzerland, in Singapore, in the US. We will become issuing house in Switzerland by first quarter 2018. Our company is fully open source. We want to partner with everyone. This is a project, not so much a company, but rather a project, a movement to make the world better. What are the risks? Why are we going? What are the risks? There's many risks, and we're fully aware of it. We're aware of it that this can fail on any day. That there are millions of obstacles. In a way, we don't believe in miracles. We count on them. We use it both for B2C or B2B projects. Our team is currently 100 people. We're constantly looking for people to join us as consultants, as partners, who think with us, who want to work with us. I hope I could convince you that what we are doing is important and that we have a chance of succeeding. Do you have any questions?
Hey, Simon, you've got 3 minutes left. You can take questions, tell stories, jokes, little dance, little song, whatever you want.
Please, Ignacio.
Ignacio, help me out. I understand that this is an open collaboration, a movement that sounds great, but
We are a company incorporated in Zug. We have 100 employees or consultants who work from about 100 who are living all over the world. We have employees in Russia, in Perm. We have employees in Tehran. We have someone in Ariel, an Israeli settlement. We do not have any prejudices. We all think alike. We all share the same vision, the same ethics, and the same mission. We have people in Brazil, in the US, in Asia. There is a regulated part, so we see that you have these regulated entities, which in Switzerland or which are regulated, but we have an innovation approach across the company. And we have an accelerator. All our solution, you can go to GitHub, we have 3 million lines of code. So our only principle with collaboration is open source, no monopolies, and yeah, so that's kind of, is this good? And we have 4,000 investors. We have a coin, which is our share, which is a derivative for the underlying share. And we have a community on Slack, on Telegram. And yeah, I think that's one. Michael?
What kind of equivalent or financial instruments can
1
you
minute.
trade on this stock exchange?
So currently, we are only regulated in very bad place, Vanuatu. And, so there, I don't know the regulator. It's very difficult to it's far away. It's difficult to talk with them so well. So we are setting up an issuing house in Switzerland, so it will be for bonds and the equities, for any kind of financial instrument. Or also what you can do, which works well, is kind of rights of storage. For example, you have gold commodities stored, so you can trade commodities which are stored, like in storage, which is a big advantage, because the problem is if you are trading futures at COMEX and you really have a crisis and everybody wants the gold, it's nowhere, you will never get it. So that's, in principle, you can have any kind of financial instrument. The key is just, in this exchange, the key is that it's a real underlying asset. We have rules of exchange. I'm happy to share it with all of you.
Okay, thank you very much. And we're at the end of our first section. Let's quick give a hand to all of our speakers. And let me turn to our esteemed panel, my Eurofilings and the organizers. Do we have any quick words? Do you want to influence our voters before they vote? Which was their favorite session for our first half?
I would say that Carol mentioned 2 words, open data. I didn't mention trusted nor ecosystems, but
okay.
I think that's good.
You're not going to hold that against them, though, but you'll bring it up. Any other quick from our organizers? If not, I would ask you, but you do have a little stake in our vote here, since Bragg is here. Okay, so we have our first 4. We've got Carol, who spoke about next generation APIs. APIs really important. Blockchain will not exist in a silo. It's going to be looking into all sorts of systems, external data, all sorts of things. API is very important. We had Maria, who spoke to us about identity. Boy, identity is a big deal, whether it's trying to preserve your identity, making sure people don't find out about you what you don't want them to know about, while making sure that people who rely on identity can find it. We had Mark, and Mark spoke about the demonstrator that was prepared for DG FISMA. Lots of great questions there. And finally, Simon spoke about the exchange work. So let's begin in that order. Let's give some applause first for Carol and APIs. Let me hear your applause. Next, maybe a little bit of the sorry for what Eric did for her vote. Let's hear from Maria. Let's hear it from Mark. And finally, let's hear it for Simon. To this first group of speakers, thank you very much. You're dismissed back to the audience, to airplanes, or wherever you're going. And our next group will Jose, Jarko, and Henning please come to the stage. So thank you. Go to the audience, make room for our next group of 3.
Thank you.
So we're going to be hearing about some very exciting things. We're going to be hearing about AI. Like I say, do not go to Google and search for easy steps to AI. I learned that that's a bad thing. I learned how to make baby cows. Bad thing. Jarko, and I have to recuse myself. Jarko's going to be speaking about working with XBRL GL. That's my baby. Very excited to be hearing about what's going on there. Henning is going to be talking about research and production in the blockchain environment. Going to be a very exciting time as well. So Jose is going to be our first person up, getting wired up and ready to go. How you doing, guys? Keeping up energy here? Second to last session. We're staying on time, maybe to the dismay of some.
It's an interesting type of time.
We're learning. Excellent. I see two people. Who are we missing? Who are we missing? Jose, Jarko.
This will be from the video.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Somebody
Very
online,
good.
yeah.
Okay, are you ready to go? Then in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you got 7 minutes. Go.
Hi everyone, my name is Jose Gomez. Can I get a microphone?
Where is the microphone? There is a
Use my microphone. I can emote.
Hi, I'm Jose Gomez. I'm the CEO of Centimer Technologies. We are an artificial intelligence company based in Madrid. We work with banks, with utilities, with insurance companies, with financial services in Europe and in Asia. And we provide services for artificial intelligence, new ways to communicate to users, and to get relevant data to make decisions. So why do we exist? Basically, we see there is a huge problem in the financial industry, telecom, insurance, almost any of this kind of business. It's complex and boring for the user. They hate it. They don't like the process. There was a survey saying that 3/4 of millennials prefer to go to the dentist than going to the bank. And it's pretty difficult to scale. If you are trying to sell financial products, you need an army of guys doing that. And when you want to do that at a massive level, it gets really expensive to escalate and to coordinate. Okay, so the challenge is how can we make the process of buying a product, an insurance product, personalized, simple, and extremely scalable, that we can almost do it automatically. So we, at Centimer, yeah, so, okay, it's a pretty cool video. That doesn't work. Anyways, so basically we are working with them saying, is there an intelligent way that we can use artificial intelligence to determine which are the true needs and preferences of the user, adapting to what he tells us with his own words to determine which is the right product to recommend.
5 minutes.
Yeah, thanks. And adapt to what he might want and anticipate. This means if the guy is pushing like crazy, so you say, hey, this guy is not serious. If the guy gives you contradictory information, it's okay. Our artificial intelligence will determine he's saying that he's risk averse, but at the same time he's going for more aggressive strategy. Make extra questions. We are yeah. Oh, now it's working. So what is behind this? We are analyzing every single movement of the person with the bot. So if we analyze what he says, how long does it take compared to people like them, which is the type of business segment this user belongs to. We on real time also access other data sources apart from the customer system. We go to Facebook, to Twitter, we check everything, and in real time we can say, how good of a potential customer is this? How sure he is of what he's doing? Is he engaged into this transaction? And make active actuations in order to avoid him to abandon or not to buy. Also, so what is behind this? we are working with all these companies, and I will tell you that after several years, the key here is the natural language. I mean, if you have the ability to understand what people say, there's a new universe of data you can analyze. How he's feeling. Is he having a...
3 minutes.
Is he having... Can we say that he knows what he's doing? Because as a provider of financial services, you will run the standard questionnaire, but if you are providing a bad advice, this customer is not going to be happy. With this kind of tools, you can analyze whether he's really understanding what he's doing. We are applying this to a lot of regulatory and legal stuff. For example, in banks, we use this kind of tools to receive questions from the branches, and the robot will determine what is the right answer. So you can save, I think it's around 65 to 70% of lawyers' cost answering questions from the branches, just simply due to this ability to understand what people want and provide the right answer. Also, the systems learns over time. They learn how the customer feels, what to say, what to respond, what are the best offers, how to customize the tone, the way you talk to the person through the bot in order to provide him an excellent experience and making sure that he is getting the right financial product. And this can be, and we think that currently no company is willing to spend months or hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars doing this. We believe that artificial intelligence should be intelligent enough not to require months of work. So having a system that can provide you quick results in a month, that you don't have to involve half of your company in order to get some meaningful results, is extremely important. And I think that's it. I will be happy to take some questions. Yeah.
You're analyzing a lot of customer data, right? The data that the customer provided to the financial institution.
Yep.
So first of all, does the customer give consent to analyze the data?
Yep.
1 minute.
Second question, what if the conversation with a particular customer is very, very limited? For instance, I typically shout at my partner. And I just don't really give them a lot of data to feed on.
Well, basically, there are two sets of data. It's pre-engagement, so any data I have on the CRM of the bank, I will use it. And second is in real time. So the way you answer to the questions, what you answer, how long does it take to you? If you make questions, how many questions, and what was your feeling about it, determined from the natural language. That provides me a lot of information on what to do next.
Is it from speech or from written?
Both.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Thank you.
Yarko is next. We want to save you for.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I want to let you know that we worked really hard here. Yarko is coming to us via video. He's been told he has 7 minutes. Let's see if on the pre-recorded video we can.
Buenas tardes.
Say it again.
Buenas tardes.
Okay, Yarko, are you ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You got 7 minutes.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to participate in the conference for trusted open data ecosystems. My name is Jaakko Jevert. I'm a Finnish S&P auditor practicing in my own audit firm. Today we are going to spend the next 7 minutes with the problem of verifying bits. The auditor is in a role of assuring data trusted. And an auditor is always an outsider. It doesn't matter if the documents are in the custody of an organization or if the documents are in the custody of an algorithm like blockchain. Traditionally, verifying documents was literally handling papers. Today, documents are bits. And verifying bits is a very great challenge for auditors. The bits may be easily corrupted. I still don't know any other way of verifying a document except asking an external confirmation. This is slow when it's done manually, but with the help of automation we can do it effectively and in large scale. First, we should define in a standard document 2 fields as pointers to the participants. With a pointer, I mean an internet address to the participants' information system, where you can leave a query of the data to be confirmed. Second, we should have the software to handle this process. Instead of making one-by-one letters of confirmation, a computer can do it fast and in a large scale. The auditor can load data to be confirmed from the company to be audited into his own program. Then he creates a table consisting of the pointer to the counterpart of the document. That is, the counterpart's gate address. Information of the document, such as identification fields like invoice number, product information, amounts and sums, and the last column of the table is for verification, and that is yet empty. He sends the table rows according to the pointer addresses in the internet to the different counterparts and their gates. At the gate, there is a system that can receive data from the auditor. The gate calculates an answer which is confirmed, busted, or no such item. The gate would not give any extra information than what has been asked. I hope it will not be difficult to stop phishing. The smallest amount of information would be probably the pointer, identification like invoice number, and a checksum. And the answer would be the correct checksum or no such item. The firewall should take care that no other information could be taken from the receiver's information system. The gate sends back the table with a verification column filled. So, and how much do we need internet communication? The communication happens between the company that will be audited and the auditor and the transaction counterpart of the company. The companies have an obligation to keep the records. When transactions are made at arm's length, a counterpart's confirmation is generally considered to be trusted. The communication is only between the 3. As blockchain needs communication between all servers in the chain, there will be much more communication compared to the model just spoken of. In Europe alone, there are some 10 billion e-invoices annually. If all these documents were kept in a blockchain, the amount of communication between the blockchain servers would be on another level compared to the using pointer between participants. According to some sources, the Bitcoin has more servers than Google, and Google as an electricity user compared to states is somewhere like number 45. So we should also look for solutions that are less energy intense than blockchain. What do we need to do this? We need a definition of 2 fields in standard documents, like XBRL global ledger or e-invoice. Definition of 2 fields as pointers to the participant's internet data system. And second, of course, we need programs to deal with this kind of communication. The benefits: large-scale confirmation is possible. Complete materials can be confirmed instead of samples or statistical assurance, which is usual in auditing. This kind of massive confirmation process could be interesting also for any other party focused on trusted data. So thank you for your time. We have some short time for questions, and I hope the Skype connection will function so that we can continue this in Skype. Thank you.
There's 20 seconds left to the session.
Any questions?
Are we actually on a Skype connection at this point?
We have no questions.
Okay, no Skype. So Henning is going to get staged here. Henning will be giving us the clarion call on research and production in a blockchain environment. So again, the last session is what I spend my time working on is trying to get it so that XBRL Geo and other data standards that semantic can be referred to or included within the blockchain so that all the things that you just heard about and much more can take place. Henning, are you ready to go? And he's testing. And there were some problems with that. Let me give you this. You are our last speaker, so we want to make sure we all hear.
Hello?
Don't need penalty. Make sure that you're on the air.
Nice.
And Henning, you're on in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, improv.
Hey, hello. All right. I would like to take the chance to talk a little bit about my company, but also use it to be a little bit philosophical. Maybe that's a good time now in the frame of the last 2 days. First, about my company, if you progress to the next slide. So the reason it exists is basically the real drivers of the blockchain space are people who seldomly find their ways to this kind of conference or work for the European Commission. And those are the crypto nerds who actually started this all off. Blockchain has a long history that's often forgotten. It started in the 80s, actually, with people who understood that the way that governments and corporations started to equip themselves with computers would be able to trace us and every single move that we do in our economic lives and create profiles from that. And it wasn't hard to imagine that this would lead to surveillance systems, and this would have a feedback then on the behavior of people, where you wouldn't do certain things because you know you're being traced. And this is, of course, to people who have a strong sensitivity for freedom and for liberty, something that's called stifling. People will, in effect, start self-censoring themselves. And we are all a little bit in that future now that back then people hoped to avert, where we know that there's megabytes of data about us stored the world over, right? We've totally gotten used to that. We don't even know where it is stored. We have no idea who is controlling it, who could do what with it. And we've basically come to terms with the fact that large elements in our lives are governed by pattern matching. Right? So the guys that are actually today working on blockchain and who are actually setting the agenda in a certain way because they are still at the forefront of the research, they still have the best understanding of what's actually possible. It's not the corporations, even though we have a lot of, some of it is vaporware, to be honest, a lot of marketing that's out there, but only a few people actually understand where this journey might lead, and they are not a lot, actually. But they also have very strong ideals that are often very incompatible with making blockchain useful for business, which is, I find personally very interesting. And they're also, by and large, pretty rich, meanwhile, which is a nice side effect of those cryptocurrencies. So it's hard to get to employ them or to get their advice on stuff that is important. So I'm motivated by actually trying to leverage blockchain for stuff that is something that we could all benefit from. And this is why I've built a small company to be able to advise, for example, the European Commission, for which you have to set up a certain official framework. And by this, bring in the advice of the original hardcore of blockchain to for example, points in the European Commission that could actually make a difference in using this technology for future regulation. Talking about regulation and business rules and applications in the economy, I would like to end this with a thought about what we actually do. We all know that work is becoming scarce. The definition of people by their employment is becoming something that's more and more difficult to sustain because more and more people are going to get out of work. In the moment we're talking about replacing truck drivers by artificial intelligence, basically. There's huge amounts of truck drivers in the world. And I hear very little about what all these people are going to do in the future. But you could also take a more extreme view, and that is that we might actually be post-scarcity already, which means, like, theoretically, very few of us would have to work at all. And if you look at who's actually building houses nowadays, who's actually farming, who's actually even building cars, it's very few people. All the rest of us, and regulators are very much at the forefront of that, and people who create tools for regulators, even more on a more abstract level, in the end, we're all pretty much busy with organizing ourselves better, to organize other people better, to then make them able to better organize other people. And blockchain, of course, can be used for that. And then we add another layer on top of it, and then all the organization may get more efficient and more transparent and all of that. But actually, baked into the fabric of blockchain is a very libertarian, is a very self-empowering principle. And I think in that, this technology, and all its unwieldiness also, is probably offering a chance to make things qualitatively better, to go back and look at what really serves humans. That's it.
Got a minute 30.
Anybody having any questions, or would anybody like to take the mic and add something to that? That laughter sounded like it. Yeah, sure.
I'm intrigued to learn more about what your company is doing, or what you want to do, and what your plan is. And
all right. So honestly, there are not too big plans. How many seconds?
1 minute. Well,
1 minute.
60. In Canada, it's 57.
All right. So as I said, I mean, this is really like I founded this company to be able to work and to advise the European Commission. And I am personally, I'm really interested to make things possible and to try to get the real technical advice somehow distilled in a way that experts in a certain domain are able to work with it to create great stuff from that. And this is a very ad hoc orientation, if you want. And I believe that basically a lot of what's going on in the blockchain space is really ill-informed. There are a lot of people trying to do stuff with blockchain that do not really understand the domains that they want to change very well. But there's also huge misunderstandings and marketing and vaporware in other domains that do not understand blockchain very well. So that is really what I'm trying to accomplish, to bring those people together. Thank you.
Sorry about your ear there, Derek. All right, for our second half, we had three great sessions. Jose spoke to us about Sentiment analysis, natural language, real-time personalization. Jaco came in at 6 minutes and 40 seconds, wonderfully well, to speak about automated auditing using XBRL GL and e-invoicing, and Henning spoke, again, delivering his clarion call, research production from cypherpunks to corporate suits. Where's this all going? So again, let's do our second half vote. But before we do that, again, Ignacio, Derek, do we have anything that you'd like to say to the group to do some influencing for our second half vote?
I'm looking forward to the clarion coin rate.
Thanks.
Okay,
Later.
so let's have the vote first for Jose Sentiment. For Jaco and auditing with a data standard. And finally, Henning, and where this is all going and how we get there. Again, 1 minute for our judges to confer. We're going to have the final votes. Okay, what did you think won the second half? What do you say? Okay. And who do you think the second half there on that one? You go. Okay, so here's what the judges say. The first half winner was Maria with the no mercy vote. Henning won part 2, and so now Maria versus Henning. How many want to vote for Maria? Hey, woo! How many want to vote for Henning? Judges, was it Henning?
You didn't listen. You made much noise.
All right, great. Hey, 7 great sessions, 1 hour on the dot. Thank you, everybody, for your participation. We have one more session before we finalize. To our speakers, thank you very much. To those who facilitated, thank you very much. To everyone who...
Thank you, Eric. Thank you. Right on time.
So, according with the agenda, we have now 1 point. That is related to you. Let me check. Okay. So as you know, this event is part of activities that started in 2005. Why? Because in 2005, the Committee of European Banking Supervisors, that at such a time was, the chairman was the general director of supervision in the Bank of Spain, received a suggestion to harmonize the European formats. Why? Because